This is the first episode of The Simpsons.
Eat a Simpson.
And this is the 750th.
You're gonna live, bitch. You're gonna live, bitch.
Yep, quite a lot has changed, but what do you expect after 33 years? So today I thought it'd be really fun to compare these totally different episodes, and only these episodes. They are separated by 3 decades, so let's see how far the show has come or strayed in its stories, animations, and its characters. The opening sequence. The first thing I noticed when revisiting Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire was that there was no couch gag, and no opening at all really. Instead it opened with a title card and a slither of the theme song infused with Christmassy jingle bells. There's no clouds, no chalkboard, and definitely no The Simpsons. In fact, the opening sequence as we know of it today wasn't introduced to The Simpsons until its 2nd episode. It was created to pad out the runtime if an episode ever came up short, specifically the couch gags, which is why you had some that ran for a really long time. Now, let's take a look at the 750th one, entitled Homer's Adventures Through a Windshield Glass. To mark this massive milestone of 750 episodes, this 1 minute 23 second opening sequence included 750 characters. And trying to identify every single one of them is near enough impossible, but it's so fun trying. And if we pause it right here, you'll see the character Ashley, who may or may not be loosely based on me. And if you'd like to find out how, then check out this video right here. I have to say that this opening sequence best represents just how the Simpsons cast has exploded over its time on air, from only a dozen characters in the first episode to ballooning into the hundreds. So do comment down below if you can spot your favourite character and who they are. Personally, I love that Season 3's Ozzie Smith was included on the missing person billboard, i.e. the guy who fell into the mystery spot. The story and themes. Episode 1 story is really grounded. It focuses on Homer not receiving his usual Christmas bonus, which he hides from Marge when he finds out that Bart's tattoo removal destroyed their savings.
Homer? Oh, yeah, my Christmas bonus.
But still determined to give his family the best Christmas ever, he secretly works as a mall Santa to earn some extra money. This leads on to more disappointment, gambling his measly earnings on a dog race in a last-ditch effort to save the holiday. Now, every time I rewatch this episode, I love it more and more. And what's weird is that I rarely choose to watch the first few seasons. I always thought that, like in a lot of shows, it was still finding its feet and could feel a little awkward at times. But as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate The Simpsons' more stripped-back approach and its more mature themes, like money issues, relationship woes, worker rights, and dealing with depression. And as a kid on first viewing, I couldn't really relate to the grown-up struggles that Homer suffered, therefore gravitating more towards Bart and Lisa's stories. But as an adult now, I really realise just how relatable this story is. Like even now, almost everyone is struggling financially, which is a pressure that only builds up during the holidays. You're expected to be holly, jolly and bye, and children naturally want what all of their friends have. Or in Lisa's case, a pony.
But I really want a pony, and I've been really good this year.
I also now appreciate how real and flawed the characters were back then. Although I get why Homer didn't tell Marge about the Christmas bonus, it just reveals that they didn't have the best communication. Because if they did talk it out, he would have known that she didn't need the big expensive Christmas that he thought. And in my opinion, it just makes the story all the more real and all the more tangible. There are so many real emotional moments in this episode, like Homer's head bowing in shame is such a heartbreaking scene, as well as when he and Bart fruitlessly search for a winning ticket.
Find any winners, son?
Sorry, Dad.
Therefore, the moment when Santa's little helper jumps into Homer's arms and they accept him as a Simpson is so euphoric after so much disappointment. Basically, there are just so many great moments that it just gets better and better every time I watch it. On the other hand, the 750th episode focuses on Homer furious with Marge about hiding money. Money she's been receiving from her late father. So while driving and texting angry to her, Homer hits a fire hydrant and flies through the windscreen. And all of a sudden, a magical toy elf voiced by Lizzo appears to help Homer understand that Marge's intentions are always good, using the money to fix his mistakes, and really is the secret to their marriage. I mean, at one point, Homer even gets sent down to hell. All in all, it's a very surreal episode. Even so, both of these episodes deal with the touchy subject of money. But the first sees Homer keeping a secret, and the 750th shows Marge as the secret keeper. And it seems that no matter who it is, both are incapable of communicating. But I feel generally that episode 1's portrayal of this was far more satisfying because Homer comes clean about his bonus by the end of it, and the 750th doesn't actually show Marge and Homer being honest with each other, leaving the money issue as an ambiguous and lingering secret. Also, the fact that Homer's realization was all thanks to a talking elf rather than the reaction of his loved ones did make it feel all the more ingenuine.
Closure! Closure, 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 closure!
Initially, The Simpsons told stories that satirized and deconstructed the typical dysfunctional family sitcom, with one of the more criticized things about its changes over the years is that the stories have become stranger out of necessity. But at the same time, there are only so many storylines that could be told about a grounded family, especially one that doesn't age or progress. At the same time, while I appreciate the 750th episode trying to do something different, it didn't quite land for me. I did feel that the framing device was just too odd for me to get into, with Homer talking to a freaking toy. And then the musical moment in the middle with Lizzo just really took me out of the entire experience. But then again, I do give it points for some creativity and the fun in identifying all of Hell's residents. And of course, Ralph does always give me a good laugh.
Archibald, Mommy is going to die!
But could you imagine going back in time and showing someone this episode after just watching Simpsons Roasting on an open fire? I wonder what their reaction would be. And in a very strange coincidence, both episodes end with a musical number. The first with the whole family singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Had a very shiny nose.
and in the other, the camera zooms back to reveal Lizzo and the Simpsons in a recording booth. And when Bart starts making music by slapping Homer, Lizzo and Lisa jam out. Now, this was a very strange and random meta scene that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but then again, the whole episode was a bit random in itself. So maybe it does fit in. The characters. Now, this section is going to be a little trickier for me to talk about because we are only focusing on these 2 episodes. But the most obvious changes, especially as Homer is our main character, is his voice. Homer's gone from the more deeper and serious tone,
Marge, where's the extension cord?
to a more doughy, loud and expressive voice.
Look at that giant fork! Probably for eating delicious heavenly s'mores.
Marge's voice has also obviously changed too.
Every time I look into his eyes, I see someone who will never stop loving me.
Even though Julie Kavner has always intentionally made Marge's voice almost sound tired and exhausted, age has obviously affected it too. But she still does a killer job, so I don't really care. And weirdly, we've even got an episode 1 Ralph to compare to the 750th Ralph. It seems that back then he was still a kooky and arguably simple kid that still managed to make people feel uncomfortable. But he's since turned into this almost otherworldly being that's far zanier and far weirder than he ever was.
You died and went to hell. Ralph knows. Whee!
In regards to Bart, episode 1 painted him as a more sympathetic character. From finding out why his dad had to be a mall Santa, realizing just how low he was in order to give him some hope and motivation.
Oh, come on, Dad. This can be the miracle that saves the Simpsons Christmas.
Whereas when Homer was literally hurtling towards his death, Bart really only poked the bear.
Okay, gotta go, Ape-Face. See you at your funeral.
Now, I know this bit was only a figment of Homer's imagination, but hey, it's the only representation of Bart we get here, okay? Now, let's talk about the animation. And I know it's probably unfair to compare the quality of 2 animated episodes separated by 33 years, but screw it. I'm doing it anyway. As a spin-off from the Tracy Ullman show, the crew didn't have the biggest budget for the first season, but still, the animation does surprisingly hold up well and there's something very charming about it. They weren't always on model and there was a lot of front-on face shots, but even still, there was a hand-drawn roughness that I just loved. And looking at the 750th episode, you can certainly see how far the animation process has come. Whereas the first used cells, this is completely digital. And say what you want about the modern episodes, but what you can't deny is the animation's quality. Also, just look at how great hell looks here. I love the various shades of red, the textures of the stone, and the perspective art when looking at the mahoosive lines of hell.
So red.
They also had the capability of adding in other details, like sight gags, and a big improvement on character designs. Like, let's just take a look at this group of school kids right here in this frame, and then the 750th couch gag. Now, while I do personally prefer the animation style of the earlier seasons before it went digital, I don't want to take anything away from how incredible the quality of the new seasons are, which is undeniably flawless. It's so crazy to think how much The Simpsons has achieved over its 750 episodes and is now heading into its 35th season. And although not as much as I used to, I still get comments saying that the new Simpsons suck and that they should just cancel the show already. But I really don't agree. The past 2 seasons have had episodes and moments that have genuinely been so awesome, proving that the show still has it. It can continue to deliver great episodes with really great ideas. The 2 Treehouse of Horrors recently have been the best in years, and Lisa the Boy Scout was a truly excellent episode, which in this case uses the strangeness to elevate the show by subverting our expectations in delivering a really unique and fun episode.
I'm the only 36-year-old who can pass for 10!
And although I didn't love the 750th episode, it did show that the creators aren't afraid to take risks and do more experimental episodes. And I do applaud it for trying something different. But I want to hear what you thought about the recent season of the show, and I'd love to know what the first episode you ever watched of The Simpsons was. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.